There's a moment in every life where the path ahead is unclear, and the motivation you once felt begins to fade. You wake up, and the excitement is gone. There's no applause, no fire inside, no reason loud enough to pull you out of bed. And in that silence, you're faced with a choice. Do you keep going, or do you wait for the feeling to return? Most people wait, but those who win, those who change their lives, they don't wait for feelings. They act on decisions. Because consistency, my friend, is not a mood. It is a commitment. Not just when it's easy, not when people are watching, not when the outcome is visible, but especially when it's hard. Especially when it feels like nothing's working. Especially when no one claps. You don't build discipline by being inspired once a week. You build it by choosing the same action again and again, even when you don't feel like it. You want to be healthy? You don't wait until the mood strikes to eat well or move your body. You decide. You want to create, to grow, to build something that matters? Then you don't wait for clarity or comfort. You move forward, even in the fog. The truth is, most people don't have a motivation problem. They have a decision problem. They never made the decision to show up no matter what. Because when you truly decide, when you draw that line in your life and say, this is who I am now, everything begins to shift. You no longer depend on moods. You don't let your mind negotiate your commitment. You just act. Consistency is built in the dark. In the moments when nobody sees. When your energy is low. When the results are invisible. That's where champions are made. It's not glamorous. But it's where the real work happens. The quiet work. The soul work. And here's the real secret. When you choose action over feelings again and again, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself. Not because you succeeded overnight, but because you kept your word to yourself. And that is how confidence is born. You no longer need someone to believe in you. Because you do. Because you've proven it. So, if you're waiting for motivation, for clarity, for the perfect moment to be consistent, stop. Consistency is not a reward. It is a requirement. And it begins the moment you stop chasing feelings and start choosing yourself. How many times have you had a spark, an idea, a dream, a goal, and for a moment, you believed in it. You saw it. You felt it. And then, you waited. You waited for the right time. You waited to feel more prepared. You waited to be in the mood. And just like that, the spark died. See, your brain isn't your enemy, but it is a master of hesitation. It doesn't want you to fail, so it whispers. Let's just think about it a little more. Let's wait until tomorrow. Let's be sure first. But what it's really doing is stealing your time. And if you give it long enough, it will talk you out of everything you ever wanted. That's why the most powerful habit you can build is this move before the voice of hesitation gets loud. You feel the urge to start that project? Stand up. Now, do one small piece. You feel the resistance before the workout? Don't think. Just put on your shoes. You don't feel ready to have the hard conversation? Dial the number before your fear finds words. Because once you start, something changes. The fear fades. The fog clears. And suddenly, it's not as hard as it seemed. This is not about being reckless. It's about reclaiming the seconds between thought and action, the exact moment where most dreams die. Not because they were impossible, but because they were delayed to death. Hesitation is a habit, but so is action. And every time you choose to move now, you strengthen the muscle of momentum. You don't need more time. You don't need more knowledge. You need one thing, a rule. Thought, then movement. Not thought, then fear. Not thought, then delay. Just movement. This isn't about rushing. It's about not giving fear time to settle in your bones. Because if you wait for perfect, you will always be late. But if you move fast, you'll learn faster. And every fast start teaches your brain, this is who I am now. I act. I don't overthink. I move. One action today is worth more than 1,000 intentions tomorrow. So whatever it is you've been holding back on, do it now. Not after this video. Not when you're more motivated. Not later. Now. That is how change begins. Let me tell you something most people never admit, not even to themselves. You are not falling behind because you're lazy. You're falling behind because your focus is bleeding one distraction at a time. We live in a world designed to break your rhythm. Your phone buzzes. You check it. A notification pops up. You swipe it. You sit down to work, and suddenly you're scrolling through nothing that matters. And then the guilt sets in. It's not that you don't care. It's that you've trained your brain to chase comfort instead of commitment. See, every time you pause to check something small, every time you shift attention from what matters to what's easy, you send a signal. Avoidance is acceptable. Escape is allowed. But here's the hard truth. You don't rise by doing what's easy. You rise by protecting what matters. Distraction isn't an accident. It's a decision repeated until it becomes a default. So if you want to be consistent, if you want to build a life that moves forward instead of spinning in place, you've got to shut off the noise. No, not reduce it, not manage it. Cut it. Clean, cold, complete. That app that steals your time, delete it. That open tab calling your name, close it. That little habit of checking your phone every few minutes, break it. You don't need more self-discipline. You need fewer temptations. Because here's what most people forget. Focus is not a personality trait. It's a protected space. If your goals matter to you, then your time has to matter too. And that means creating an environment where focus is not optional, but non-negotiable. Turn off the noise. Sit with the silence. And do your work. You won't get a standing ovation. No one will cheer when you turn off your phone. But something deeper happens. You begin to respect yourself again. You begin to reclaim your power from everything that once owned your time. And once you taste what it's like to work without interruption, to think clearly, to move without distraction, you won't want to go back. Because that version of you, focused, disciplined, fully present, that's the version that builds a life worth living. Success doesn't come from intensity. It comes from clarity. Most people think the answer is more. More to-do lists. More strategies. More systems. But more isn't better. More is heavier. And when your plan is heavy, you don't carry it. You drop it. That's why people burn out. Not because they lack motivation, but because they tried to carry too much too soon. Here's the truth. Consistency isn't built on complex routines. It's built on simple, repeatable actions. The kind you can do even on a bad day. Even when you're tired. Even when life isn't playing fair. You don't need a perfect system. You need a doable one. A plan so simple, you could follow it with your eyes closed. One action. One priority. One non-negotiable. Not 10 tasks. Not 30 habits. Just the one that moves the needle. And you repeat it every day. That's how momentum is built. That's how progress becomes visible. And that's how discipline becomes a part of who you are, not something you chase, but something you embody. Write it down. Place it somewhere you see daily. Let it remind you that your goals don't live in your mind. They live in your habits. And your habits only form when your system is so clear, you can't excuse your way out of it. Because here's the other truth no one wants to hear. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So simplify. Strip away the fluff. Stop trying to impress yourself with big ambition and start proving yourself with small execution. Yes, the actions will feel boring. Yes. The process will feel repetitive. But repetition is the architect of mastery. Do the same thing long enough, and soon you won't need motivation. you'll need discipline. And discipline will come. Not as a force you fight for, but as a rhythm you live by. So today, instead of building a complicated plan you'll abandon by next week, build something you can follow for life. And then show up, not with perfection, but with persistence. That's how consistency is born. Not from brilliance, but from simplicity, done daily. There comes a moment in every journey when everything inside you says, stop. You feel tired. You feel frustrated. You don't see results. You don't feel progress. And the easy road quitting whispers to you. And in that moment, you must decide who you are. Most people think they fail because they lack talent, but they fail because they allow quitting to stay on the table. It's always there, sitting quietly, waiting to be chosen when things get hard. It's always an option, until it isn't. You have to reach a point where you say, I'm done quitting. That door is closed. That road is sealed. That version of me, the one who gives up, is dead. Because as long as quitting is an option, you'll never give your full power. You'll always hold something back. You'll always play it safe. You'll always save some energy, just in case. But real growth requires all of you. Not half, not when it's easy. All of you, especially when it's hard. See, most people quit not because they can't keep going, but because they don't like how it feels to continue. They confuse resistance with a sign that it's not working. They think discomfort means detour, but it doesn't. Discomfort is the toll for transformation. You can't evolve and stay comfortable at the same time. So you must learn to stay in the fight even when it hurts, even when nobody claps, even when progress is invisible, even when the voice in your head says, you're not enough. Because here's what quitting steals from you. It steals your future. It steals the strength you could have built. It steals the version of you that only shows up after you stay the course. If you quit every time it gets heavy, you'll spend your life circling the same mountains, carrying the same regret. But if you commit, really commit, with no exit, no excuse, no escape, something changes. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop asking, how long will this take? You start saying, as long as it takes, I'm here. And when you make that shift, when you refuse to back down, no matter what, life begins to open doors you couldn't even see before. Because now you're not searching for a way out. You're searching for a way through. So tell yourself today, I'm done quitting. I stay. I endure. I finish. Not for applause, not for validation, but because that's who you are now. That's the standard. And that mindset makes you unstoppable. We all want to be seen, to be praised, to be told, you're doing great. I'm proud of you. But the truth is, the most important work you'll ever do, the most life-changing, soul-defining work, will happen in silence. No one will be watching. No one will be cheering. No one will even know. And that is where your greatness is born. It's easy to show up when there's a crowd. It's easy to work hard when there's applause. But who are you when the room is empty? Who are you when your progress goes unnoticed? When no one texts good job? When no one says, keep going? Do you keep going? That's the test. Because if you only act when people are watching, you're not doing it for yourself. You're performing for approval. And approval is weak fuel. It burns fast. It fades. It fails when you need it most. Real strength comes when you stop needing an audience. When you show up because you said you would. When you put in the work because it's part of your identity, not a strategy for attention. Greatness isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in the dark, in the quiet mornings, in the silent nights, in the lonely reps, in the hours nobody sees and nobody claps for. That's where champions are made. And when you learn to show up for yourself, to grind in the quiet, to fight in the dark, to rise without praise, you become unshakable. Because now, your consistency isn't tied to applause. It's tied to purpose. It's not reactive. It's resolved. Yes, there will be days when it hurts. Yes, you'll feel invisible. Yes, you'll question if it matters. But that's when you remind yourself, I don't need permission to be excellent. I don't need recognition to stay committed. You clap for yourself. You respect your own grind. You honor your own promises. And in time, the world will see the results. But long before that, you will have already become someone worth respecting. Not because the world validated you, but because you no longer needed them to. So next time it's quiet, next time you feel alone, next time it feels like nobody cares, do it anyway. Show up anyway. Win anyway. Because that is where the difference is made. Not in the light, but in the dark. There's a quiet enemy that steals dreams. It doesn't shout. It doesn't wear a mask. It just waits. And it hides behind the words you whisper to yourself. Not today. I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. Its name is laziness. But the truth is, laziness rarely looks lazy. It disguises itself as comfort, as self-care, as mental rest, as I'm just not in the right headspace. And you believe it because it sounds kind. It feels gentle. But deep down, you know when you're lying to yourself. You know when you're choosing what's easy over what's necessary. Most people aren't stuck because of lack of time. They're stuck because of a silent agreement with their own excuses. You say you want to change. You say you want results. But your actions say maybe later. And until you break that pattern, until you look in the mirror and say, I've been avoiding effort. I've been protecting my laziness. I've been lying to myself. Nothing will change. This isn't about shame. It's about truth. Because truth sets you free, but only if you stop hiding from it. Ask yourself honestly, how many times have I had time, but wasted it? How many moments did I spend scrolling instead of building? How many plans did I talk about, but never start? You don't need more strategies. You don't need more motivation. You need more honesty. The kind of honesty that stings at first, but liberates you after. Because laziness is a thief. It steals your progress, your confidence, your potential. And the longer you protect it, the more of your life it takes. But here's the good news. You can end that cycle today with one choice. The choice to say, I will no longer lie to myself. You'll still have tired days. You'll still want to postpone. But now, instead of sugarcoating it, you'll call it what it is. And that simple act, calling things by their name, builds power. You begin to raise your standard. Not just in what you do, but in what you allow. And that shift from hiding behind softness to stepping into personal truth is where real growth begins. So stop protecting your laziness. Expose it. Challenge it. Replace it with small, focused, deliberate action, because that is how you reclaim control. We live in a world full of plans, of intentions, of I was going to, and I meant to, and yet most lives remain unchanged. Not because of what people lack, but because of what they keep explaining instead of executing. You say, I'm figuring it out. You say, I'm working on it. You say, I'm almost ready. But days go by, then weeks. And the thing that mattered still isn't done. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Explaining feels productive, but it's not. It's a mask, a clever disguise, a story we tell ourselves to justify delay. And the longer you tell the story, the more you believe it. You think you need more clarity, but what you need is completion. You think you need more time, but what you need is a shift in priority. Because no explanation will move your life forward. Only execution will. You don't owe the world a reason for your progress. You owe yourself results. So stop justifying why it's not done. Stop managing perceptions. Stop narrating your effort. Just do the thing. Whether it's writing the first page, making the uncomfortable call, or finally starting what you promised yourself months ago. Silence the talk and let your actions speak. That's where confidence is built. Not in speeches, but in steps. When you begin to move without announcing it, when your work becomes your voice, when your habits say more than your plans, you rise, not because of noise, but because of proof. So ask yourself, am I building momentum? Or am I building more reasons? You don't need to explain your delays anymore. You don't need to defend your inaction. You need to show up. You need to execute. You need to become the person who gets it done. That's the shift. That's the standard. And that's how you win. Starting is exciting. It gives you that rush, the fresh spark of possibility, the vision, the plan, the energy. But finishing is where the fire turns into friction. It's where the novelty fades and the grind begins. And most people, they never make it past that point. They start things, big goals, big dreams, big declarations. But somewhere in the middle, the noise creeps in. I'm too tired. It's not working. Maybe this isn't for me. And they stop. They don't fail because they lack skill. They fail because they never trained their mind to finish. If you want to be consistent, truly consistent, you must build a new identity. The finisher. Not someone who tries. Not someone who intends. Someone who follows through, no matter what. This mindset doesn't come naturally. You train it with discipline. You reinforce it with action. You prove it by crossing the finish line. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, but completely. Each time you finish something, no matter how small, you're telling your brain, I can be trusted. I honor my own word. I don't quit halfway. And that trust is everything. Because if you don't believe yourself, no motivation can save you. It's easy to start 10 things. It's powerful to finish one. So, stop jumping to the next idea. Stop chasing the next burst of excitement. Pick one thing. See it through. Close the loop. Because once you build that habit, the habit of finishing, your mind shifts. You stop entertaining doubt. You stop wondering if you'll follow through. You just do. That's how consistent people win. Not by doing more, but by finishing what they start. And you can start that today. Pick the task that's been lingering. The project you keep restarting. The promise you made to yourself and broke. And finish it. Do it quietly. Do it slowly if you must, but finish. That one act will ripple into every part of your life. Because once you prove you can finish something, you'll know you can finish anything. There's a hard truth you have to accept. Nobody is coming. No mentor, no miracle, no perfect moment. No one is going to show up, grab you by the hand, and walk you into your best life. That's your job. And the moment you accept that, the moment you stop waiting, everything changes. Because waiting is a form of hope. But action is a form of power. You keep hoping someone will notice your effort. You keep hoping circumstances will shift. You keep hoping for motivation to show up and carry you. But it won't. Nobody is going to build the life you want for you. Nobody is going to save you from distraction. Nobody is going to drag you across the finish line. And that's not bad news. That's freedom. Because once you stop waiting to be saved, you realize you've had the power all along. You are the rescue. You are the answer. You are the plan. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about doing something today. It's small, imperfect, quiet, but real. The world is filled with people waiting. Waiting for the right mood. Waiting for more time. Waiting for someone to believe in them. And they stay stuck. But the ones who rise, they move. They act. They take responsibility. Even when it's unfair. Even when it's hard. Even when they don't feel ready. They stop blaming. They stop narrating. They stop explaining their pain and they start building something out of it. You want a different future? You build it. Brick by brick, action by action, step by step. You don't need someone to push you. You push yourself. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And once you stop waiting, once you start owning everything, your time, your energy, your decisions, you become untouchable. Not perfect, but powerful. Because now, nothing controls you. Not laziness, not doubt, not outside circumstances. You've stopped looking for a way out. You've chosen to build your way through. So if you're still waiting for a sign, this is it. Stop waiting. Start acting. Your future is not being delivered. It's being built. And no one is coming to do it for you. Now, go do the work. So here you are. 10 listen later. 10 truths that don't ask for your applause. They demand your decision. Because if we're honest, you didn't come here for more information. You didn't sit through this just to feel inspired. You came here because there's a part of you that's done. Done starting over. Done stopping halfway. Done watching time slip through your fingers while the life you want stays just out of reach. And now, you know why. It wasn't because you weren't smart enough. Not because you weren't ready. Not because the timing wasn't perfect. It was because you waited. You negotiated. You hesitated. You let distractions lead, let comfort win, let excuses speak louder than your conviction. But no, now you know the truth. Consistency is not magic. It's not talent. It's not luck. It is a choice, made in silence, repeated in obscurity, rewarded in reality. You don't need to do it all today, but you do need to start showing up like your future depends on it, because it does. You need to start moving like no one's coming, because no one is. Not to rescue you, not to save you, not to build the dream you keep seeing in your mind. That's your job now. You've got to wake up every day and act like it matters. Like your time matters. Like your effort matters. Like your word to yourself is sacred. And the days you don't feel like it, those are the most important days to show up. Because that's when your character is tested. That's when your identity is shaped. That's when you stop being someone who tries and start becoming someone who finishes. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not lost. You're just one decision away from the life you said you wanted. One decision to act now. To stay consistent. To stop quitting. To build quietly. To finish what you start. To lead yourself not with hype, but with honesty. You don't need the world to believe in you. You need you to believe in you. And belief comes from action. So today, don't just think. Don't just plan. Don't just promise. Move. Let this be the last time you start again. Let this be the beginning you don't walk away from. Because this is how you win. Not someday. Not soon. Not when life gets easier. You win now, one quiet act of consistency at a time. And if you stay with it, The world won't need to notice. You'll already know. You became the person you were always meant to be.